Rob Gronkowski and Zach Ertz define what the modern-day tight end has become in the NFL. Both players led their teams in receiving this season and are threats regardless of where they line up. Gronkowski and Ertz both had double-digit catches when they were lined up tight, when they were in the slot, and when they lined up out wide. What can't they do? So, we want to talk tight ends. Whose wheelhouse is this in here? Maybe our three-time Pro Bowl tight end, Greg Olsen. So, Greg, tell us what's so special about these guys and what makes them different. Start with Ertz.
I'm a little biased, but I think for these teams that have these dynamic tight ends, and Zach Ertz is at the top of the list, you can just do so much with them. His ability to run routes, his ability to create space. You see on some of these highlights here, when these defenders are playing off of him, and even at the line, he can move them at the line of scrimmage and really limit their ability to get their hands on him. You see him here last week against Smith in Minnesota. He uses his eyes, he gets leverage, and Smith has no idea where he's going. And then you can see his ability to move, his ability to run. And again here, defenders off. He's got all of this space to run at him, use his eyes again, use his footwork. He doesn't chop his feet. There's not a lot of big guys that have that ability to play smooth and create space. Again, another opportunity here to run right at a guy, use his speed. He does a good job nodding him on the nod 9, gets his hips turned and crosses a face, and a big target. And then again, when you talk tight ends in this league, you have to start with Rob Gronkowski. Guys have tried everything. They try to get up on him and press him and get their hands on him. They try to play off and catch him. The one thing I think about Gronkowski that's underrated, people talk about his size and his strength and his ability to use contact. He is an elite ball catcher. He can catch ball. People talk about catching the ball outside of the framework of your body. These are great examples here. He's covered. That's the only place Brady can put the ball, but Brady knows he can throw the ball out there outside of his framework because of his ability to track the ball and catch it. And again here, this is not bad coverage. It's a great throw, and he just goes and gets it. His size, his ability to take up space, he's the ultimate matchup. I don't know what the best way to guard him. Lewis, we've talked about this. Sure. You want to fight him, but that space almost works against you because he's so big. He gives teams fits. He's done it better than almost anybody who's ever played the position.
Yeah, I really don't think you have any other choice but to really throw everything that you can at Rob from a physical perspective and really kind of match toughness for toughness, push for push, grab for grab with him, because if you don't, you saw in a couple of those clips, when he's just coming off the line of scrimmage, he automatically, in his swim, is pushing on you and creating separation. When he was trying to fight Kevin Byard for that jump ball there down in the end zone, you saw him grab him by the top of his shoulder pads and kind of push him away. And the teams that have had the most success, the players that have had the most success, are the players that fight him all the way through the catch point. And that means this. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to have to be willing to set some flags out here and see what the referees are going to call, which means this. Look, you start pulling and tugging on Rob just as he's pushing on you, and you see if the referees are going to let you play football, if they're going to call it tight. And even if they do call it tight, you have no chance if you back off of this guy. He's just too big. He'll just block you out. He'll totally just eclipse all of you, and you won't be heard of from the entire game. Take your shots with him. Teams have had success with it, because if you don't, he'll own the area between the numbers, and he'll go over 100 yards on you, and he'll be hoisting another Lombardi.
Safety Malcolm Jenkins insists that the Eagles are all about matchups, and they've been so good on defense because they match body type to body type. But of course, there's no body.
There's no body types on.
You just have to
the only
laugh.
body types are the guys rushing the passer.
Right. So whoever is on him, they say hardest job.
No question.
Hardest job
Right.
in today's game. Would you agree?
I agree. And then also, if you're going to grab Gronk, just that's what the Patriots do to the opposition. So pay him back, hold him 50 times, get the 4 calls a game, but the other 46 times you got your hands on him. I think that's the way to play him. I think tight ends. I've always said I'd rather have an All-Pro tight end than an All-Pro receiver because of proximity. Tight ends are close. 3rd and 8, can you imagine there's less athletic ability inside the numbers than there are outside the numbers? And so you get an athletic tight end who understands spatial relationships. There's no better friend for a quarterback than an All-Pro tight end. I mean, it's
Steve, I'm sorry. Listen. Many years ago, you and I sat on you and I sat on a countdown set, and you basically said that. Give me an all-pro tight end over an all-pro receiver. And I had to ask you this. So you're telling me you'd rather have Brent Jones rather than Jerry Rice?
You have to be a wise guy. I'm trying to tell you.
You said it again.
I'm telling you, proximity. 3rd and 8 proximity is like your best friend. Now you're going to try to make it personal, Mort.
That's not personal.
You cannot refuse Jerry Rice. got to be a fool. Come on,
look,
man.
so
Trying
based
to make
on
a
that,
point. Who else has all-pro tight ends and all-pro
How did
receivers?
you get in the Hall of Fame with those guys?
I had a wealth of issues. I'm just saying, if you had to choose, relax. I'm done. I'm done. I've made my point. You're out, Mort.
I think it was a good point, Steve. I agree with that. We got to.
And it was such a good point. It actually led to one of my favorite moments.
You let Mort get in here. That's great.
It led to one of my favorite moments of the week, because I go to Zach Ertz and I tell him what you said about wanting a great tight end, and he leans in and he goes, Steve knows a lot about great tight ends because he played with Brent Jones. And then, as it turns out, small world, Zach Ertz insists that he's playing tight end in the NFL because of Brent Jones. Zach thought he was going to be a basketball player, but in his junior year of high school, Brent came and coached the team. And he said to him, you have so much talent, you should be a tight end. And it kind of took off from there.
Most guys probably start as basketball players or have that ability, have to choose, right? Because you're 6'4", 6'5", great athlete. You don't want to be a lineman. Well, be a tight end.
Go figure about the tight end thing. Bill was ahead of this trend, too. He was the guy who wanted to own the middle of the field before anybody else did, really, and now everybody else is looking for those hybrid type of players.
And guys, we know that the big news leading up to Super Bowl 52 was the status of Rob Gronkowski, who suffered a concussion in the AFC Championship game. He was cleared during the week, but how's he doing now? For that, we go back to Josina Anderson and the Domino's pre-game headquarters, rather.
Yes, Susie. Patriots tight end Rob Gronkowski, who was actually cleared from the concussion protocol on Thursday, has a big opportunity for great production against the Eagles' wide 9 defense today. Now, because the Eagles' defensive end actually lines up on the outside shoulder of the tight end, the wide 9 creates an inside seam on the slot, which is actually great for Gronkowski, seeing as though this is the area he was most effective, catching 17 yards per reception. Clearly, this is an area that Josh McDaniels can take advantage. Now, Josh McDaniels told me this week that it's actually his job to create opportunities for others on the field when Gronkowski is also being used as a decoy and not being targeted. Wide receiver Brandon Cooks seems to have taken the most benefit from this situation, catching 61% of his passes when Gronk is on the field and 47% when he's off. So that right now is the Gronk effect. Susie, back to you.